Okay, today I'm gonna start to talk about the layers first to see how we can work with the layers, and I'm gonna just start a 2D um, drawing from the template, the AutoCAD ISO, um, to use it. Uh, so if it comes up here and you see the 2D menus up here, so that's okay. If you don't see it, make sure you come here, click on this gear icon here, and just switch to drafting and annotation. So to um, switch the menu to 2D drawing. Um, if you switch to 2D drawing, one of the things that you will see, one panel that sits right in the middle, uh, is the layer. And today I want to talk about this layer here. So up to this point, all we drawn, we didn't care about the layer, we draw everything. Um, but usually when we are dealing with the large project, it's it's recommended to do everything on layers. So what is the layer? Um, if you work with any image editing software like the Photoshops or those things, you might probably already be familiar with the layers. But you can consider the layers as a transparent sheet that you draw all the similar part on one sheet, and then you go to the next sheet and draw whatever are similar on the next sheet, and so forth. So you, for example, you have several transparent sheets, and you draw whatever you think are related to each other on one of each sheets, and then you put all these sheets, stack them on top of each other, and eventually what you see is the final drawing um, of what you have drawn. So it helps that you keep a similar thing close to each other on one sheet. So I will show you later how it helps to manage it or draw it more easily if you do that that way. When we deal with a very simple drawing, we probably don't need to do that, but when it comes to more complicated drawing, that's the way we should do the drawing. So put everything that are related or similar to each other on one sheet. For example, assume I want to draw a plan, a 2D plan of a building from the top view. And when I'm drawing, I might want to put all the walls on one layer, and then I draw all the windows on one layer. Then I draw all the doors on another layer. So in case that I want to make any changes to, for example, doors, I directly go to the layers that contains the doors and do whatever changes I want to do to the doors without changing anything in other layers or make something wrong in other layers. So that's very useful tools to work with it. So um, uh, first of all, uh, let me draw the simple drawing, and then I will show you how we'll work with that. So if I go ahead, by default, if you go in the AutoCAD, you just open the AutoCAD and start draw anything. So assume I could come here and start to draw some lines. So assume I started from 0, 0, and then I go, for example, for 100, and let me zoom in, and then, for example, I'll go up for 50, then go to the left for 50, go up for another 50, go to the left for another 50, and then close it. And then zoom in so you can see better. So assume I have this drawing. So look at it, when I started drawing, if you look at the layer, there is a layer 0 here. And whatever by default, when the AutoCAD starts, we have this zero layer there. So whatever you are gonna draw, if you don't create any layer or don't change the layers, everything is gonna be on zero layer. One thing about the zero layer is that it is the default layer of the AutoCAD, and whatever you want to do, do not change that layer. Don't do anything. Don't change the properties of that. Don't modify it. Just leave it alone. So for the layer 0, just leave it alone. If you want to do anything, create a layer and do whatever you want to do on those layers. So as I said, for simple drawing, we can just stick to that 0 layer and draw everything on that 0 layer. That's what we have done so far. And we don't need to be worried about anything else. But if you want to do the more complicated drawing, then we probably need to create some layers. So if you click here on the layer properties, you click on that, it will open the windows like that. That it lets you to create, delete, or modify any layer that you have here. So as you can see here, by default we have the layer 0, and as I said, just leave it alone. Don't do anything with that. Now assume, for example, I want to create some layer and put everything on everything that I have related to each other on that layer. For example, assume I have here an outline of my shape. Assume I want the outline be on separate layer. So I can come here, click on this one. So if I click on this one, it's going to create a new layer. So it create a new layer and ask me to give it a name. So assume I give it the outline or whatever name that you will see proper. So now I have one layer that's called outline. Now assume I want to, for example, put all the dimension, and it's usual what you do. You assume you put all the dimension on the separate layer. So, and generally it's a good practice. So put all the dimension on separate layer. So I can come here, click on this new layer again, and create another layer and call it, for example, dimension. Then assume I have, and this is again another thing, is that you when you're creating the drawing, usually you're gonna have some construction line. And what is the construction line? The construction line is the line that you draw that helps you within your drawing. For example, you might to assume you have a couple of circle, so you want to draw some line that mark the center of all those circle you have. Eventually in your final drawing, you don't want to show those construction line, but it's helpful when you have them to help you to draw whatever you want to draw. So you draw that line to help you complete your drawing, and then after you're finished, you probably want to delete it, or you sometimes you don't delete it, but you don't want to export it in your final design, or whatever you give it to your for example, client. So I'm going to create another layer here, and I'll call it the construction line. So in case that I create any construction line, put it on that layer, so I know that's not part of my drawing. So here, what you will see, so I created 3 layers, and I have these 3 layers. Now, usually, if you leave it on the default, so all of them are going to be similar. The properties of all of them are going to be similar to the 0 layer, and that's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes you may need to, for example, make some changes in order to whatever you're drawing, you want to, for example, have some specific properties. For example, here, assume I want to make some changes in the, if you come here, one of them is the color, one of them is, for example, the line type, and one of them is the thickness of your line. Assume here, for example, I want to change the thickness of the outline. I want my outline line be be thicker than the rest of the line I have in the drawing. So I can come here and click on that. And when you click on that, it opens this menu and says, okay, what type of thickness do you want? So assume I come here and say, well, maybe 0.3 millimeter. So I assume I want all of my outlines be 0.3 millimeter. So I click on that, and as soon as I do that, you will see that the thickness here change compared to the thickness of the other line. Then I have the dimensions. So look at the dimensions. Assume I have dimension. So what I'm saying that it's not common to do that, but assume I want my dimension has different color from the other lines. So I can come here, click on the color, and then it will ask me what color do you want to have it, and assume I want to have these, for example, one of these yellowish, dark yellow, something like that. Assume this one. So assume I want my dimension has this color for any reason. So I can change it. So whatever my dimension is going to be, so whatever is going to be on the dimension layer is going to have that color. So if I want to change the color, I click on that, I show you. If I want to change the thickness, I click on that. And the one other thing that you usually do that is the type of the line you have. So usually for construction line, you change it into other type than the solid line. So right now is a continuous solid line, but to make sure is not confused, you are not going to confuse the construction line with whatever line that belongs to the drawing. You may change the line type. So if I click on that, you will see here that it will says that it's continuous. The only thing is has a continuous. So if click here on the load, it lets you to load some as I said, there are all these predefined type of the line here, and you can go ahead and choose any of them. So for example, here they have the AutoCAD ISO dash line, or you will see if you move into that, you will see that it has so many different type of lines. So you can go ahead and select any of those. Now for example, if you are drawing the hidden line and you have a layer that you're going to put all your hidden line on that layer, so you can come here, choose the hidden, so all the line that is in that layer is going to have this dash format if you want to draw that. So you'll see it has tons of different formats of lines that you can use any of them. And also if you have, I think the file, you can go in the file and import. But if I want to use just one of those predefined, so I'm gonna just choose this one, the dash line, the simple dash line for my construction line, and click on OK. Remember that when you click on the OK, still it's gonna keep the original one, so you have to go and select a new one and then click OK. And as soon as I click OK, it's gonna change from the continuous to the dash line here. So any of properties of the line you have here depend on what you want to do. You can come here in the layer and play with them and change it in a way that you want to do that. So now I'm gonna close it. So I assume these are all layer and with the properties I want. So I'm gonna close it. Now assume I want to add the dimensions to this one. So to do that, so I can either do it here or go to the annotate tab and start it there. But if I want to put right now, because it's on the layer 0, whatever I draw is going to be on layer 0. So I'm going to choose layer dimension because I want to draw dimension. So now whatever I'm drawing is going to be on layer dimension. So if I go to the annotate, you will see it says use the current, which the current layer is the dimension layer, or you can manually change it to any other one that you want here, but usually leave it on the current, and then whatever layer you chose in the layer panel is going to be there. And then assume I'm going to add a dimension to these two lines here. So if I click on the dimension, I select for example from this corner to this corner and put it somewhere here. press enter. So let me bring it in the center. So you can see the color of that is going to be on those dark um, uh, yellow format. The same as here. If I come here and start it, for example, on this line. So if I click on this line and put it somewhere here, again, you will see it's going to be um, on that green format, and press enter. So whatever I draw here, because these two are on the dimension layer, is going to get those um, layer properties. Now assume, for example, let me go back to layer 0. Assume I add a dimension, but for some reason I forgot to change it, and I do it on the layer 0. So assume I come here, click on that and add the dimension, and then I will say, oops. So press enter. So if I go back, I will see that because I did it on the layer 0, it's going to have the properties of the layer 0, but that is not what I wanted. I wanted to be on the layer that has a dimension. So if you have done something, if you draw something and then you will see it's not on the correct layer, you can just select it and then simply change the layer to whatever you want, and then by doing that it will move it to whatever layer that you want to put it there. The other one that's here, so for look at the outline, so I create the outline layer and I want to put all my outline on that layer. So as I said, because I already drawn this outline on the 0 layer, I have to go and select them and then move them to the outline layer. So I'm going to just select the outlines, and after I select them, I'm going to move it to outline layer. Before I move it to outline layer, remember I said that our outline layer has a thicker line width, so I expect that when I click it on the outline layer, everything is going to have the thicker thickness. But let's click on that, see what happens. So I click it, and still you see that if I click on the line, it says it is on the outline layer, but the thickness you see is the same as it was before. It's not thicker than what we had before. So to fix that is that if you come here and click on this three dot here, three line here on the very lower right corner, and it open this menu, and then you have the lightweight. So usually it is hidden, so you're gonna just click on that, so it's going to be shown on this status bar down here. So if I click on that, this lightweight is going to be shown here. So this is the icon of here. So as you can see, the lightweight is off. By default, the lightweight is off. So no matter what lightweight you choose for in your drawing, the AutoCAD doesn't show it. So you can come here and turn it on, and as soon as you turn it on, you will see that the lightweight is going to be shows the actual width of the line that you define. So if I click on that, you'll see that now it's going to show the line with the correct width to do that. And another layer I have here was this construction line, which I wanted to be a dash line, so see if it works. So I click on the construction line, and then I just simply draw lines to see how it's going to look like. Just assume I need a line to help me drawing goes from here to here, and then I see it's going to create a dash line for me. Sometimes it might not show the dash line. If it doesn't, you probably need to go to the properties of that dash line and play with the scale of the line. So when you play with the scales, it's gonna actually showed, the dash line is gonna be showed up here. So if you draw the dash line, you don't see it, just go to the properties of that line and change the scale in order that you um, uh, change it to the way that you can actually uh, see it, or you can actually come here and change the properties of that line also, access it here. So remember that, but usually you don't need to make any changes. In case, just know that. So this is the uh, for example, the construction line is going to be on the dash line. This is going to be the dash line. So this is how we can do putting different things on different layers. The very last thing I just want to say that if you open these layers, you'll see there are a couple of icons next to each of them. So the first one is the turn on and off the layer. So if I click on that, you will see that the dimension is going to disappear. So it doesn't mean that it's not there. It's not going to show it anymore. So sometimes when, especially you're drawing the very complicated drawing, you may want to turn out some of the layers to just keep whatever you're working to focus on that. And if you want to show it, you just click on that. It's going to turn it on and off. The next one is the freeze. And if you click on that, what you're going to see is very the same as the turn on and off, at least visually. So if you click on that again, you're not going to see completely going to hide that layer. The difference is that every time that you zoom in or zoom out in the AutoCAD, or you move the drawing from one place to another place, AutoCAD renders the drawing. So graphically, it renders the drawing, and it puts lots of pressure on your CPU or GPU on those things. If you simply click on the hide, it doesn't show it to you, but still it's gonna render it in the background. So every time you zoom in or zoom out, or you move it, or anything you do, it render it as it is there, although you don't show it, but it use your CPU or your computer power, your graphic card power. But if you freeze it, not only you don't see it, also it doesn't do any render. So it doesn't it assumes it's not there at all. So it doesn't render it when you zoom in or zoom out. So when you are dealing with the very large drawing, if you freeze it, it helps to free up some of your CPU power. So in case that you do lots of work, the computer doesn't need to do lots of its resources to also try to render whatever you don't show. So that's the difference between these two. If you click on the lock layer, the lock layer basically doesn't let you to do any changes. So whenever you're done with drawing in one layer, you can simply go there and lock it, and it doesn't let you to do any change. So for example, I go ahead and lock the outline. So I assume that's my outline. I don't want to make any change on that. If I lock on that outline, now if I go ahead and select everything, and accidentally I delete it. So let me press delete. You'll see everything will be deleted except for the outline, because the outline is locked, and so it doesn't let any change being done on that layer. So it's usually a good practice whenever you draw and you're happy with whatever you're drawing, just lock it, make sure it's going to be there, and you're not going to accidentally make any changes on that layer. So generally, when you're dealing with the complicated drawing, layer would be really helpful, that you put everything that are related to each other, or close to each other, just on one layer. So it helps you to manage it or change the properties of drawing much easier.